Good morning, church. It's good to be with you today. And today I want to talk with you about the topic of vengeance. And I know we've talked about avenging ourselves a few times before, but it just happens to be the topic in 1 Kings chapter 2 and 2 Thessalonians chapter 1. And so it's good for us to talk about it today and two different aspects of it. So in 1 Kings 2, David's last words to Solomon, his last instructions, are how to get revenge on some guys that had wronged him. And here we have Joab is on the list, who has caused problems for David, but also stood up for David. I think that David was just really upset for all the problems that Joab had caused him. We have the Abiathar, who had abandoned him, and we have the guy that cursed him on the road. And I just love David's words about Shimei, that he says, look, I promise not to kill this guy, but you're wise. You can figure out how to bring this guy down in blood. And Solomon does. And so David concocts these plans on how to bring vengeance on these guys even after his death, and therefore remove his enemies. And I suppose that's something that kings and people then had to do, was to make sure that their kingdoms were established. But we look at the other side of that in 2 Thessalonians. The people are not bringing vengeance on those that have troubled them. They're not trying to get revenge. But Paul says, look, God will bring affliction on those who afflict you. God is the one who will bring vengeance. And that's just the situation we see over and over again in the New Testament, that it's God who will avenge, God who will repay. And just to reiterate the point that we have made before, is that we're going to allow God to do that. He'll use people, just like David used Solomon to get his revenge. God will often use people in that, but we just have to trust God and allow him to fight the battle for us. And then to end on a hopeful note about David's prayer in 1 Chronicles 29, verse 14, he says, who am I and who are my people that we should be able to give as generously as this? For everything comes from you, and we have given you only what comes from your own hand. We're just giving back what you gave us. And he goes on like that, praising God that they were able to give generously. That's how we need to think about what is ours, what we have. It's all God's. Everything that we have came from him and through his hand. And so let's not be deceived into thinking that we have somehow earned or that we have anything. We should lift up our lives with open hands to our Lord, because that's what he desires. It's all his anyway. All right, we'll look forward to talking to you tomorrow, church, and I love you very much.